This story starts on a wet night on a battlefield. Qin Fang was on top of the mound of dead bodies. He had cleared out the ruins of the ancient god, even though he was 100 times older than usual. A woman with a dagger told Qin Fang how amazing she was, and then took the divine object, the Eye of Judgment. Qin Fang, hurt and about to die, asked his sister conceitedly why she was treacherously leaving him. It was clear from Qin's IU that Qin Fang was just an adopted child whose parents took her in. Because their blood was different, she didn't think of him as her brother. A blonde guy named Song Fei walked up and told her that Qin Fang had been helpful, while putting his hand on her shoulder and holding the holy object. He smiled and thanked Qin Fang, because he wouldn't have been able to get the holy artifact that would drain Qin Fang's life without him. He had worked hard to get the blade that could steal souls, which was now inside him. He asked Qin Fang if he liked the gift he gave her to say goodbye. Even after the game started, Qin Fang often put his life at risk for her. He had raised Qin's IOU after their parents died, and helped her with school. Now that he knew she had lied to him, he understood he had made the wrong decision about her. Qin Sale, you made it clear that Qin Fang kept getting involved in her life, telling her what to do and controlling her after their parents died. He was still useful back then, when Song Fei and she needed his security. But since they had the divine object, he was no longer helpful to them. Song Fei cut Qin Fang down with a knife, and told him he would take care of Qin's IOU. As they were about to die, Qin Fang promised they would not get away with it. Song Fei killed him before he could finish the sentence. In 2025, the godforsaken game came out. The only coin was lifespan, and the killing monsters in the game took away lifespan. Given a lifespan was how much players could spend to use their in-game skills in real life. Strong people could smash tanks with their bare hands, cut through planes with a sword, and even stand up to nuclear blasts. At that moment, the world changed a lot, and chaos spread. He and his sister fought to stay alive and went through a lot of hard times. They just became the top 100 of the world's most powerful companies. After facing an endless number of dangers and barely avoiding death countless times, he finally took over the old god's ruins. He got the divine object known as the Eye of Judgment. Finally, he had what it took to get to the top. But who would have thought his only family would reject him because he was successful? Everything he did was pointless, and his problems only allowed someone else to succeed. He promised himself that he would only fight for himself if he could live again. Things changed after that, and Qin Fang opened his eyes. He was in his room, which was a surprise. He woke up quickly and saw that this was the real world. He was confused because he thought he had died. He checked his phone, though, and saw that it was 2025. When he looked out the window and saw the beautiful city, he knew he had been born again 9 years before, the day that the godforsaken game came to Earth. The next morning, his sister Qin Shu smashed down the door and saw that Qin Fang was reading a book at home. She got mad and asked him why he wasn't answering the phone. Qin Fang remembered that he and Qin Zile were together on the day the Forsaken game came down. She kicked the trash can. You fought a lot over Song Fei. Before the game, there were pictures of Sam Fei on the wall. Song Fei was a well-known underground hero, and Qin Zile was crazy about him. Song. On the outside, Fei looked very attractive. Still, he was actually a crook who had tricked many of his fans into giving him money and letting him use their bodies. Qin Sei was not fooled. Qin Fang always told her not to hang out with that guy. But ultimately, our boy was blamed for running her life. She used her finger to point at Qin Fang. You told Shu that he was deaf, and that Song Fei had lost first place this month. You also told him she would get angry if Qin Fang didn't give her money to help Song Fei rise in the rankings. Then Qin Fang slapped her hard in the face with a cold look on his face, making her pass out. Her cheeks got swollen, blood came out of her nose, and tears filled her eyes. She couldn't believe Qin Fang had looked right through her. When she kept barking, Qin Fang told her he would break her mouth because he didn't want to or have time to fight with her. He threw the credit card over her head and told her it was the money their parents had left behind. He said he had never touched a single cent for their parents, no matter how hard things had been. He made up his mind not to be like her, but he clarified that he didn't have a sister like her after today. You started to cry and get mad at him in his past life. To keep Shu and Qin safe, Fang missed out on too many chances and gave up too many secret riches and dangerous dungeons that needed to be explored. He got out some sleeping pills and mixed them with water to take them. He was interested, and he was going to get far without this weight on him. He chose to use what he knew about the game from the other life to get ahead of everyone this time. Hinzai Out was now on her own. When it came to Song Fei, our boy cut off his head. Qin Fang passed out and woke up in the choice hall. Since the first time he came here, he had missed this spot. He was so scared that it took him hours to finish his job and leave, but he had to work faster this time. He picked the fighter to protect and hide you in a past life. The fighter class wasn't weak, but was no longer the best option. Since Qin Iou was no longer on him, he could clear solo much faster. The most important things were being able to move and respond. Because of this, Qin Fang picked the assassin class right away. The system then reported that the holy artifact Eye of Judgment had been successfully bound, which was a surprise. It turned on the Eye of Judgment. It had a passive power. Qin Fang would automatically get the best job in talent as soon as he started the Forsaken game. When our boy saw that the Eye of Judgment was still connected to him after rebirth, he was shocked. He realized it only worked if the item knew who owned it. If it was stolen, it wouldn't do anything. Being sure that this might be the reason he had been born again. At that moment, shadows started to move into his body. After that, his body began to change, and his hair went white, making him look like a shadow. Shadow was the most advanced hidden job for killers. In his past life, he was a fighter, but this job was nothing like that. It had already given him a lot of power just getting this job. Qin Fang was shocked when he remembered that each profession had a minimal chance of unlocking its hidden higher-tier profession, and that the power of judgment made this chance a sure thing. The system turned on and told the person that the authority of judgment was the most real and ancient authority in the world. Its power briefly went beyond what the law said was right. Since Qin Fang did not have divinity, he could not actively use this power. However, it did work when it was passively used. Our boy was shocked when he learned this in a past life. In the 7th year after the God-forsaken game began, a strong player could cross over from God's abandoned world to the realm of order. But the truth is that no one got the power of order, even years later. Qin Fang had no idea that this promise would come true. At the start of his trip, he already had the primordial authority that went beyond rules and order. He could use this authority as long as he could get from God's abandoned realm to the realm of order to become divine. Now, I have a different goal in life. After choosing a job, the system asked him to enter his game name, Qian. Feng thought about it for a moment and then picked Shadow. Because his career came from the Shadow Kin, Feng was sent to the God's abandoned land. This was a broken-down land full of many monsters. They were ready to tear him apart and take his life, so he had to be careful. You could leave town, kill monsters, and get a lifespan that you could trade. However, if you died in the game, you would lose half of your lifespan. The Qin Feng was in Shell Town, which is a safe area. He was both marketable and non-tradable. It wasn't scary. Players couldn't attack each other, and the lifetime was lost. The speed went up by 1. A lot of people were forced to play. Some of them had fallen asleep after a long day at work or after eating, and now they were stuck here. Qin Feng was the only thing that anyone could see. He looked like he had a very different job from everyone else's. Soon, a series of important people from different countries would show up and change how things worked in the world. They couldn't wait for Qin Fang to get ahead of them, because drills don't wait for anyone. 3 guys and an archer were teleported back to the town at that very moment. So, if a player died during the monster hunt, they would return to town. The players were scared and angry because the wild monsters were too strong after just 1 bite. They had been fighting the weak level 1 crawler their whole lives, but together they had only been able to take away 1/3 of its strength. Now that they were dead, the crawler would only live for half as long. They asked Archer Lizzie what to do next. Qin Fang began to watch her and remembered that shooters used short bows at first. Lizzie saw that Qin Fang was also a secret class when she realized she was one herself. "Would you like to work with us?" she asked with a smile. They weren't strong enough to fight the monsters outside by themselves. Her team had been wiped out, so they knew what to do. Qin Fang told her no and kept going. When Lizzie's friends saw him acting like a pro, they made fun of him. You couldn't do it alone since the 5 couldn't beat the monster together. They said that Qin Fang was using the system to kill himself. Lizzie saw that Shadow was King Fang's secret name. Lizzie chose to follow our boy as he walked out of town to see what skills he had. She couldn't help but smile because they might learn something new about monsters and discover how Qin Fang died. The gods left the land because it was too scary and dangerous. The other girls and Lizzie started to sneak up on Qin Fang. She didn't know how she got here, but she quickly made a group because she had played online games for years. On the other hand, the first monster they met outside of town killed them all. She knew that a level 1 player would not be able to beat this monster. Lizzie's friends were furious because Qin Fang's first weapon wasn't the same as the group's killer. His sword was long, but Qin Fang's was short. The assassin is jealous that Qin Fang is faster than him, but he should be quicker as a killer. Besides that, Qin Fang's clothes were not the same as those of his family. Lizzie followed Fang because he seemed like an odd player who could lead her to important information. Qin Fang started to stare at them, and Lizzie immediately hit them again. She didn't know if they were being seen, so she used the shadow sneak method and vanished, turning into a shadow. Lizzie and the others were a little confused when they saw he was nowhere to be found. The group's sniper realized that this was a stealth ability, a first-level ability that made them invisible. Qin Fang could no longer be seen. Lizzie went back to town and looked for ways to improve things. Going outside was too risky. They had already died once, and they would only live half as long from now on. They chose to look for NPCs to try to find secret rewards, such as treasure chests. Shadow Sneak was a skill that let the person go into stealth for a short time. When you attack, you'll show the user and take the first hit after breaking a stealth deal. Damage went up. Mastering stealth makes it last twice as long and raises the level of stealth by 1. As expected, the Shadow class was really cool. It would be easy to spot a regular assassin at this level, but Qin Fang was of the Shadow class, which was very good at stealth. No one, not even monsters, could see him. When the game started, our boy couldn't help but think that Lizzie and her friends were too trusting. They could help you get stronger, because the newbie town had nothing. It was just a safe place for players in this cursed game. Monsters were only interested in weak players. After a few seconds, Qin Fang could no longer hide. The length of time wasn't very long for now. Luckily, the downtime began as soon as he turned on stealth. It would only take a few more seconds for him to escape again. Qin Fang's status box showed up. Shadow was both his code name and his class name. His non-tradable lifespan was 75 years and 0 days. Your lifespan strength is 13 points. Your constitution is 13 points. Your speed is 18 points. And your spirit is 15 points. All players had 10 base stats from the start, and each class gave extra benefits. In a past life, the warrior class he chose only gave him 3 points and no changes to his strength or health. The shadow class gave him 8 agility points this time and modified his stats. He could still give 5 quality points to other people. The way most players use their strength or spirit points to boost their physical or magical attack power is wrong, and they immediately make the mistake. The 5 points that Qin Fang gave to agility made it 23 points. That number was significant because early on, monsters would always deal a lot of damage to players, no matter how their stats were set up. Players could only improve their agility and speed to kill monsters without taking damage. Then Qin Fang noticed something. Behind a tree, there was a scary thing. The crawler was at level 1 and had a normal score, but was improving. It woke up when Qin Fang saw that it kept taking in lifespan. He knew right away that this monster was the one who had wiped out that group of 4 players. The crawler knew that Qin Fang was nearby. A small amount of its HP had been lost, which hurt it. The monster came at Qin Fang, but he jumped to avoid it. Monsters that killed players could take their lifespan, and if they did this enough times, they could change. Qin Fang used Shadow Sneak and took out his short blade. The crawler was about to get close when he suddenly vanished into thin air. Qin Fang jumped out of the sky, used Stealth Break Strike to land on top of the monster, and slashed his short blade into its head, killing it and giving him 10 experience points. He didn't think he would be able to kill the crawler with 1 hit, but then he remembered that hits to the crawler's back caused a critical hit. At that moment, a system box told me that the skill Backstab could do twice as much damage if the attack came from behind the enemy. That's why the crawler had died in just 1 hit. When the skill Backstab was stacked with other skills, it did much more damage. Qin Fang did nothing but stare at the dead body. He thought back to when he played a warrior. He had to fight for hundreds of years, and almost died while trying to kill a crawler. Even a perfect hit only did 40 damage. The shining ball it dropped when it died showed the monster's lifespan. This gave Qin Fang 3 days of tradable lifespan, and 54 years and 155 days of non-tradable lifespan. He then clenched his fist and took the lifespan. 5 people had died, taking away at least 20 to 30 years from each other's lives. Together, they lost more than 100 years. However, Qin Fang only got 54 years because the crawler had already taken it in. It wasn't helpful right now that the lifespan couldn't be traded, but that's when the AI of judgment was triggered, giving Qin Fang the ability called Infinite Evolution. He could get evolution points to improve his skills by killing monsters himself. He would get 5 points at the moment. He could evolve repeatedly and get better at what he did in a past life. He had never heard of something like this before. Its grade was set, and there was no way to raise it, no matter what gear or skill books monsters dropped. There were no rules or laws for this power. Our boy chose to give Shadow, Sneak, and Backstab better skills. He used 4 evolution points to improve his skills, which worked. The beginning skill Shadow Sneak went from being standard to bronze, and it lasted longer, from 12 seconds to 16 seconds. The bonus for breaking stealth attack went from 60 to 90, and the cooldown was cut by 2 seconds. Backstab went from being weak to normal, and did 5% more damage. With the stealth skill, the Shadow Sneak could now last 32 seconds instead of 16 seconds. Because his stealth duration was so long, he could stay unseen forever. If he had improved his skills earlier, he could have killed a full health crawler with just 1 hit. A boy with a woman said right then that this game was easy because even a skinny guy like Qin Fang had killed a monster by himself. The woman praised him and thought he looked strong enough to handle 10 people. The boy smiled and said he would look out for her family. Fang saw a monster hidden in the tree. The boy asked him with a sure smile if he wanted to work with them. Fang felt danger and used the Shadow Sneak to disappear. When the boy saw this, he thought his big muscles had scared him. They were scared with a bronze-level monster, Nurturer. Their lives were taken by an attack. Borrow's clothes peaked in flush. The boy was playing. That's when Qin Fang remembered that the Nurturer was a simple boss with 16 HP. Most beginners wouldn't be able to handle it. And besides, it was in charge of many small spiders. As soon as the Nurturer started eating, Qin Fang used the chance to test the strength of his new powers. Qin Fang stabbed the spider in the eye with his short blade while using the sneak attack strike. It hit back, but Qin Fang was quick to respond. He dodged the attack, moved away, and used Shadow Sneak to disappear. Our boy's move did 338 damage. He took 9 damage in return. He had just barely gotten away because he was so quick. Qin Fang had 130 health points, and the spider's attack would have killed him immediately if it had hit. His attack did more than 300 damage to the boss, which made him feel good. The Nurturer got so angry that she cut the trees in the area in half. Qin Fang knew these monsters were intelligent, and that the spider wouldn't just sit there and take hits. The spider was striking randomly to find Qin Fang. Now even the small spiders were alert, so he couldn't rush in without thinking. Qin Fang threw a rock at the spider while distracted. The rock hit the spider straight in the abdomen and did 299 points of damage. Qin Fang picked up another rock and saw that his guess was correct. He knew that the bonus from the class skill enhancement skill, Stealth Ambush Strike, was what did most of his harm. He could still do a lot of damage even if he threw rocks. He just needed to throw a rock and wait for Shadow Sneak to return from the downtime. The rock planned to use the perks of Surprise, Strike, Backstab, and Weak Point attack this way. When Shadow Sneak's delay was over, Qin Fang threw another rock at the spider, hurting it 279 points, and then used Shadow Sneak again. He planned to stay hidden until Shadow Sneak's cooldown and attack again. At the same time, the town's leaderboard was changed to show that Shadow had killed the boss. Nurturer of Bronze grade was the first to hit level 2, making them the top of the list. Everyone else was shocked because most had just died to mobs and couldn't believe someone had already beaten a boss. When Laozi and the others saw Qin Fang had beaten a boss and reached level 2, they couldn't say a word. The woman and man who were attacked by the giant spider spawned in town and were shocked to see that the big spider had been killed. They thought it must be a system mistake because they couldn't handle normal mods together. They realized the shadow was the boy they had seen earlier in the forest. When Qin Fang returned to the forest, the system told him he had killed the boss nurturer and earned 300 experience points and 2 evolution points. The level leaderboard for Shelltown was also unlocked, which gave our boy notoriety. Point Qin Fang started to take on the spider's life as soon as the big spider died. The small spider then spread out, which was a waste. He felt bad about what he did because he should have killed the little bugs first. He got a new skill book called Greedy Hand of Bronze Quality and 46 tradable lifespan to get more experience. He also got a corrosive knife with 35 damage points and 4 agility points. Once Greedy Hand Qin Fang learned the skill, he could use it on monsters he had killed to increase his chances of getting extra loot by 20%. It caught Qin Fang off guard that this god-tier sniper skill would drop from a bronze boss. In the late game, this skill made getting loot a lot easier. There is a 20% chance that defeating strong bosses will give you extra items, based on what Qin Fang remember from a past life. Someone in the Godslayer Guild was weak in battle, but he became one of the most sought-after players because he had this skill. He even had a protector who went with him everywhere. While the kids were on their way to school the next day, Qin Fang was shocked to learn that even though the activation rate was only 20%, combining it with his unlimited evolution talent could make the drop rate and loot infinitely higher. Sayo's friend asked her if she wouldn't call Qin Fang and say sorry, telling her that they had skipped class yesterday to support Song Yi in secret. She was sure that the Qin Fang didn't like her. So you said no because she hadn't done anything wrong, and he was why they almost missed the line time. Her family members said that Fang should say sorry. Tin Fang was nice to her and asked what was wrong with her face, so her friend tried to persuade her. Sayo stuck to her decision because all Qin Fang did was get in the way of her business, and she made up a reason that she hurt her face when she tripped. When they got to school, there were a lot of kids gathering in front of a classroom. The friend got interested, and, after navigating the crowd, made her way into the school, where she saw Jiang Yi's body becoming partially see-through. A friend of Jiang Yi said he wasn't sure, but he had just said he was going to nap, and when they turned around, he was already like this. This wasn't the only case like this. Everyone on the web knew about it. The same thing was happening to people all over the world. Some experts said that if someone fell asleep, they would become partly visible, like a ghost. No one knew why. The friend became very worried and called her parents to warn them. She also told Sayo that she should call her brother to warn him, just in case. But she said no because she would rather see him die than talk to him. At the same time, Qin Fang developed the new skill Greedy Hand, turning it from bronze to gold. When you kill an enemy, the chance of getting an extra piece of loot has gone from 20% to 70%. Our boy learned about the Greedy Hand and got 2 points. Qin Fang clenched his hand and used the skill. It gave him 2 evolution points and 46 days of lifespan that could be traded. He was pleased to have earned 2 evolution points. He knew that he needed 3 points to raise Greedy Hand to level 3, and that soon he would have a 100% chance of getting extra loot. He was aware that the world's governments must have caught on by now, and that more and more people would be joining the game. Because of this, he had to speed up his work and get the tools he needed. Qin Fang put on the bronze quality corrosive knife, which gave him 35 attack points and 4 agility points. He used shadow stealth to avoid drawing the monster's attention. He knew that soon enough, people would figure out that they could use the skills and gear from the game in real life, which would cause chaos in the world. To get skills and gear, you had to meet 2 conditions. First, you had to be level 10, and second, you had to have enough purchasable lifespan. It took too long to beat small monsters, so he set out to find bigger bosses. A person was fighting while he was going through the area. When he got to the cliff, he saw several players fighting a level 2 sprint predator grade. For Qin Fang's plan to find more challenging bosses, he had seen a sprint killer. It was just the time for the monster to attack, but the player with the shield and mace easily stopped it. Qin Fang didn't expect to meet this man here, When Wang Meng first joined the Forsaken game, he was said to have put together a whole team of hidden class players after realizing the stories were true. 6 people on his team were secret class users. Wine. Meng called up the Holy Barrier, which turned into a golden wall that pushed the monster away. He had the hidden class of Holy Shield Warrior, which gave him twice as many basic stats as a regular warrior. That wasn't enough. He also had a skill that made him immune to all damage. The maid on the team called up a flame that hit the monster straight on while it was distracted. She had the Prophet hidden profession for the mage class, which gave her double the magical damage of a regular mage and gave her a prophetic fireball as well. The archer on the team had a hidden job title called Sharp-Eyed Charter, which gave him twice as many stats as a regular archer and added the ability to shoot quickly. With the Oracle Priest class, the priest could heal groups of people twice as well as a standard priest. Both the archer and the mage attacked at the same time, but the monster easily dodged their attacks and then attacked Wang Meng, making him run away. It scared the archer when he saw that his long-range shots were not hitting. The priest healed Wang Meng because he thought the boss was moving too quickly. Wang Meng then decided that the best way to beat the boss was to keep fighting while the healers took care of him. Because he planned to slowly hurt the monster's health, Qin Fang thought Wang Meng was very hopeful. But he knew Wang Meng was missing the most crucial point. This was the wild world, and if a fight went on for too long, other monsters would come to join. At that very moment, 2 monsters showed up behind Wang Meng. Qin Fang knows their characters. Normal level 2 monsters that were covered in dark brown mud and were good at attacking from a distance. The team member with the sword ran at one of the monsters and attacked it. Our boy had never seen his secret class before. It didn't take the swordsman long to figure out that these monsters had a very high defense. The hit did 33 points of damage. The corruptioner threw up mud on the fencer. It was ground behind him, and his speed had slowed down. The witch had to run away with tears in her eyes when the other corruptor started to chase her. But in the blink of an eye, Qin Fang jumped in, cut off the monster's head, doing 441 damage and saving the mage. Everyone was shocked. Our boy's attack was so strong that it only took 1 hit to beat the corruptor. The mage was lost because they didn't know who did this, or if someone was there to help them. A man with a sword stood up with its help. The fact that someone had killed a level 2 corruptor with a single blow shocked him. On the other hand, they had to work together for 10 seconds to beat a level 1 corruptor. Even though the corruptor tried to attack, Qin Fang moved quickly and cut off the monster's head. Fear made the swordsman shake, and he asked Eliza had seen who it was. She got scared and said she hadn't seen it. Wang Meng spoke up and told them not to look away. He really hoped that the Qin Fang was on their side. The sprint predator was the only one left, and our boy was watching from a tree. In exchange for killing 2 level 2 enemies, he got 40 experience points, 1 evolution point, the skill book Venom Dart of common quality, and 8 days of traded life. Qin Fang didn't waste the second chance to improve Venom Dart because it was a great poison damage skill for mid-range. The skill became level 2 and went from standard quality to silver when it evolved. It gave the person the ability to throw a poison dart up to 14 meters away that would kill, deal 120 attack damage, and put the target in a poison state for 5 seconds. While the status Venom was active, it did 50% damage every second for 5 seconds, and could not be stacked. The monster came back and attacked. Wang Meng used his shield to block the attack, but the thing's sharp limbs stuck him in the stomach in the process. For some reason, Wang Meng dropped his shield and mace, which the monster used to stab him with its other arm, which was very painful. Fear made the shooter start to shake. He knew this was bad because he couldn't heal fast enough, so the priest got scared. To save face, Wang Meng begged them to run away. The sprint predator took 845 damage from the dart that Qin Fang shot, and it was hit in the head. When the maids and archers saw that the hit had taken away half of the boss's health, they were shocked. The monster and Wang Meng both started to squirm in pain, and venom began to leak from the monster's wound until its body fell to the ground, doing 324 damage over and over again. The loot belonged to Qin Fang because he did more than 90% of the damage. Killing the sprint predator gave him 600 experience points, leveled him up to level 3, gave him 2 evolution points, and gave him 55 days of tradable life. He didn't think the venom dart's damage over time would make his class's passive ability work. He could stay hidden and keep throwing darts because he had stealth. In the beginning and middle of the game, nothing could stop him. The loot started to come out of the monster's body. After a few seconds, the loot was gone. Wang Meng was shocked to see how much damage the monster had taken. They were saved by Qin Fang, and Wan Men thanked him. But our boy told them they couldn't trust people so easily in Wildlands, which shocked everyone. They made up their minds not to bother Wang Men while he was checking the loot, and thanked our boy for the advice. He also told him he could come get him if he needed anything. Qin Fang took the loot because he thought Wang Meng was trustworthy. He also had the support of Dax's government, which had a lot of power. Our boy chose to look for a reliable way to sell the loot that wasn't being used. He used Greedy Hand to get 3 evolution points and 55 days of traded life, which let him get the bronze quality leather greaves for the Sprint Predator. When our boy put on the leather greaves, they gave him 9 points in physical defense, 5 points in all chemical resistances, and a 15% speed gain on cooldowns. It was great loot, because he still had a lot of other class gear and skill books. When his band was complete, he chose to go back to town. In exchange for a lifetime, he looked more and more sure of himself. Between now and his last life, he had grown 100 times faster. He lived close to this place. Another group of players was being attacked by more monsters. They decided it would be best to run away since the number of monsters was growing. But before they could, a much bigger monster showed up. The players barely had time to escape before it killed them all with its sharp claws. When the players respawned in town, they were angry that the monsters always showed up in groups and ran away when they were low on health. People were told they had to reach level 3 before they could leave the game, but that didn't seem possible. Some players thought they needed more than 3 people on a team and should form groups of 6 or 10. The other player said this wouldn't work because he had seen 10 people get trapped and wiped out. Also, there were too many people, which meant a boss would show up. Not long ago, a group of 40 people used a Curse Master to kill more than 30 of them in one hit. Liz's team also comes back to town. If they didn't get to level 3, people would be stuck in the game forever. All of them ended up here after going to sleep. To put it another way, they were only thinking about the game. If they couldn't get out, their bodies would die of hunger. Lizzie was mad that she didn't understand why the game was so hard. Lizzie knew that her friend was scared because they had already died 3 times, and their non-tradable lifespan had dropped to less than 10 years. At this rate, they were going to die in real life, even though they didn't know if it was real or not. They couldn't afford to die again. She was a little confused when she saw that Shadow was on level 3. She thought he must have found a way to get there because they needed him to help them get there, so they could leave the game. With her hand clenched, she told her team to get the word out. To get to level 3, they needed Shadow's help. She was set on giving him $10 million. When they got back to real life, the other people were shocked, but she knew Shadow couldn't ignore the 10 million. Our boy killed a level 2 polluter in the bush, which earned him 20 experience points and 1 evolution point. After taking on the Monster King's life, Feng decided he had enough evolution points. He used the 5 points he had to evolve. Hand that wants to take. It improved from platinum to emerald, and the chance of getting extra loot increased to 160%. There was also a 20% chance that the extra loot would be 1 level higher. When Qian Feng realized that the effect was crazy and that it would hit 100% or even 200% if he kept evolving, he was shocked. Something caught Qin Feng's eye while it was raining. It was the monster known as Curse Master who had been lost in the forest. It was a bronze tier boss that was using up vital force to become a silver tier boss. It didn't bother Qin Feng that this boss had wiped out a group of 40 men. This was all that our boy had for now. He couldn't get the loot even if he killed the monster. He chose to mark this spot on the map for now. Since the boss's growth took a while, he considered getting rid of all of his items first, and then going back to town later. Everyone knew someone was offering $10 million for Shadow, the top player on the leaderboard, to help them level up fast. Since people were dying and living shorter lives, the rich had already started looking for a way to get away, leaving the commoners to their fate. While people were talking, Qin Fang walked into town and shocked everyone. He used the system to set up a market stall, which told the system that he was selling skills and tools. Since the stall is only open for 10 minutes, when the players saw that he was wearing 2 pieces of bronze-level gear and selling 2 more, they were shocked. They still couldn't believe he killed a bronze-level boss. Someone in the group asked why they couldn't see Qin Fang's face. Another player said he wanted to stay anonymous because he had turned on the face concealment feature, which made him look like his real-life appearance in-game. A mage approached our boy's shop and asked, "How much is the icicle spell?" Qin Fang told him it had a 100-day lifespan that could be traded. She was a gray rose, ranked 11, and a protected one who could hide her face. Rose thought the 100-day lifespan was too long, so she asked if the price could be lowered. Qin Fang told her that the common tier skill icicle spell sped up the maid's early farming speed, so 100 days was already a good deal. Rose asked if she could use real money, but Qin Fang said no. He told her that she could buy a changeable lifespan and trade it with him if she had cash. If no one else offered more, he would not sell the skill until she had the lifespan. She thought about it for a while, and then asked her teammates over the team channel if this was a good deal. Because she led them so well, they quickly reached level 2 and said nothing. Plus, this skill would help them achieve level 3 even faster, since getting away was the most important thing. She first told them she would send them money if they gave her their tradable lives. When they returned, she gave our boy the 100 days of marketable lifespan. When Qin Fang saw that everyone on her team was level 2, she knew they had killed at least 30 to 40 crawlers. The time they can be traded should be over 100 days. Qin Fang sold the spell and got 102 days of lifespan to be traded. His tradable lifespan increased from 268 days to 368 days. Lousy then showed up and was glad to have found Shade with a laugh. In exchange for helping her get to level 3, she gave him a chance. She said she would give him $10 million. The other players were shocked when they got back to real life. Zhang Lizzie was her name. In our boy's past life, she was the head of a crime group. Ultimately, the country with a confident smile destroyed her criminal group. When our boy didn't believe her, she told him to look her up. Reports said that she used money to trick people into selling their lives. Then she would take them and make them work, demanding jobs. Those who refused were killed. In fact, Qin Fang turned down the offer coldly because she knew she was scum. Lizzie agreed that Shadow was good at this game. Still, she also said that no one knew how it worked yet, so she told him to team up with her, and she would make sure he had everything he wanted: cars, houses, women, and the game itself. But Qin Fang didn't change his mind. He told her to stop getting in the way of his work. More than anyone else, he knew that cash was useless, and that soon, the only thing that would be accepted as money would be the lifespan. Lousy got cocky and told Qin Fang that she would have taught him a lesson if this were the real world. With a murderous look, Qin Fang made it clear that he would kill her if she said anything else until she died. At the first sign of pressure, Lousy and her friends immediately ran away from the place. After a short time, our boy sold the last thing on his table, the copper robe of tears. He now had a total of 546 days that could be traded. He thought it was time to deal with the Curse Master, now that he had sold everything. He stopped being seen. The tradable lifetime could bring skills into the real world, but no one knew that. Soon, this abandoned game would destroy the real world and the backgrounds people used to be proud of. Soon, only personal strength would count. Lizzie and her group left the area. They are out of breath from running, and Lizzie tells them that the Shadow not only turned them down, but also threatened them. When she gets back to the real world, she promises to find him and kill him. A man named Mali Jun, also known as Lao Mao, approaches her while she thinks about this. Lao Mao says he is level 2 and knows how to get higher in the game. He asks Shadow if he can take the $10 million offer to help Lizzie and her team bring it to level 3. Shadow turned it down. Lizzie is wary and asks Lao Mao what he means by tricks. Lao Mao tells Lizzie that he doesn't usually tell people about his tricks, but will for her. He tells you that you should quickly put all your trait points into agility to level up right now. This will help you run faster than the monsters, which will help you win without getting hurt. Lizzie is shocked, because she had all of her points count as strengths. She says yes to Lao Mao's offer, but only 5 million won because he's not as strong as Shadow. It's strange for Shadow to turn down such a large amount of money, Laumwal says, even though Shadow is strong. At the same time, Kim Seng got to the spot on the map he had marked earlier. Still in secret mode. He says the monster is now a silver rank monster, and the grey fog around it shows that it's still changed. He uses his Venom Dart ability, but doesn't want to wait because he knows the monster will evolve to gold rank in 7 or 8 hours. Instead, he fires the Poison Dart, which hits the monster stealthily and does 659 damage. The poison hurts the monster at a rate of 219 points per second. He quickly jumps at the beast with Shadow Sneak because he knows the Silver Boss monster has twice or thrice as much life as a Bronze level one. All of a sudden, the monster's hands start to gather a considerable amount of magical energy, which makes it bigger. Qin Feng thought he only needed to hit the monster 2 or 3 times with his Venom Dart skill. Still, suddenly, the beast launched a strong attack that destroyed everything in its path. It's a magic-type boss, and its skills do a lot of damage all at once in a wide area. He quickly moved back after throwing the Venom Dart and barely avoided being hit. He realized that if he took the monster's attack straight, he wouldn't be able to stay alive with his current health and defense. The beast charged at them again as the fight continued with a big attack. Even though its huge form turned toward him, he stayed relaxed. He moved slowly across the battlefield while watching his cooldown timer. He had to wait for the boss to show a moment of weakness before he could use his hidden shadow power. The plan was easy. Wait for the right time. Hit the monster hard and then run away before it can fight back. Later, the creature stumbled for a short time because it was sidetracked. This was the time. He moved forward right away and used his Poison Dart skill. The attack hit perfectly and did 659 damage to the monster almost immediately. The poison began to work and drain its strength. By 219, the loss per second. It tried to escape when it saw how dangerous things were, but Qin Feng wouldn't let it. He was right behind her, his eyes fixed and determined. It was almost possible to beat the monster. It didn't work when it tried to run away. In an instant, Qin Feng disappeared and resurfaced on top of the monster's head, hitting it hard on the ground. The system quickly told him he had won. He beat the boss with the silver rank. A stream of alerts showed up in front of him. He leveled up from 3 to 5 and got 1,800 experience points. Besides that, he got 4 evolution points and an amazing 124 days of tradable life. He laughed when he realized that killing a boss gave him extra evolution points and raised his level. He used his developed skill, Greedy Hand, as the monster's body became loot. A system screen showed that the loot had been received, and the air sparkled. He got 4 more evolution points and an extra 124 days of tradable lifespan, which was even better than he thought it would be. This doubled his gains. He laughed at the nice prizes. Right away, 2 extra gifts were great. He discovered that the silver-ranked boss had given him 12 evolution points and 372 days of lifespan that could be traded. As he enjoyed his benefits, another system prompt showed up with a surprise bonus. One of the things he had stolen had been raised from silver to gold rarity by Greedy Hand's secondary effect. He looked with interest at the message that it was a gold-tier item. The fact that Greedy Hand was a Jade-level skill made sense. It could make loot better than it was before. Then he looked at the loot that was all over the place. 7 or 8 pieces of gear had fallen, but his backpack had only 10 places left. Taking a deep breath, he knew that going back every time he beat a boss would be a waste of time. He was sure a storage ring or something similar would have worked great to fix the issue. The scene quickly changes back to the Shell Town, where Qin Feng is about to look at a specific item among the loot. The girls were gone in a flash of light when the man's team showed up. Her face showed that she was happy. Wang Ming made it possible for her to come back. As the rest of the team came after him, they thanked him and said they wouldn't have made it to level 3 or safely returned without his guidance. But Wang Ming didn't care about their praise. He said that their growth was due to everyone's hard work. On the other hand, the mage couldn't get rid of sorrow. She sighed and wished she had been able to make friends with Qin Feng in the forest. She thought it might have been because she was muddy at the time. With a playful grin, her teammates told her she looked great in her new outfit, and that the mystery player wouldn't turn her down again. As they talked, a system alert could be heard all over town. The list of leaders had been changed. Shadow was now at level 5. The news shocked everyone in tow. Someone couldn't believe Shadow had grown so quickly from level 3 to 5. He could only explain it by defeating a strong boss monster. 10 minutes ago, one player said he saw Shadow selling gear in the town square without any fuss. Now this. Someone else said that his sister had just turned 18, and it would be great for the family if Shadow liked her. It would be so much better if Shadows could help you level up. He quickly turned down the idea because Shadow wasn't interested in $10 million, so he wouldn't be interested in a matching offer. Things were getting scary back at One Man's camp. They were celebrating getting to level 3 when they saw that Shadow was already far ahead. But Wang Meng didn't get angry. He told them not to worry about anything. They had to log off, return to real life, and tell their friends and family about this dangerous game. The system confirmed their logout as their bodies began to fade. If Wang Ming's last words meant that the world was about to end in chaos, they told them to get their loved ones ready. Things moved on to the real world. When Wang Man opened his eyes, he heard a voice quickly calling for the captain. He wasn't any player. Wang Mang worked as a police officer. His fellow officers ran over to him and looked worried. One of them said they were scared because while he was asleep, his body had begun to become clear. It was scary to see that if a player died in the game or lost all of their lives, they didn't just log out, they vanished from the real world. But there wasn't time to think about how horrible that was. Wan Men got up and told everyone to get together because something vital had happened. Wan Men is asked about his story. Wan Men says that he and his friends had a party together. Each person in the party had a secret job that helped them a lot in the game. Still, one monster almost killed all of them. At the last second, an unknown player stepped in and saved them. Shadow Wan Meng says that what he said is true. Then he talks about Shadow's tremendous growth. When Shadow helped them, he was at level 3. Still, by the time Wang Meng and his team got to that level, Shadow had already hit level 5, which is a massive jump of 2 levels. The higher-ups are worried about this news. It's a fair question for one of them to ask. Does this mean Shadow is now the best player in the world? How did he get to the next level so fast? Wang Meng starts the rumors by saying that Shadow may have killed a high-level boss monster or done something else very amazing. Another cop, who is interested in the details, sees a mistake. Wang says that when he saved him, Shadow was already at level 3. He should have logged out like everyone else if that was true. Could Shadow have had no close family or friends waiting for him? In the real world, a female officer has a bold thought. Shadows seem like transmigrator because they appear out of nowhere and get stronger quickly, as if they were meant to be powerful. She says that many of the transgender students in my grade are orphans, which could be why Shadow hasn't come back to reality yet. The room goes quiet when she speaks, as she blushes with shame when she realizes what she said was important. A senior officer doesn't like her jokes and calls her nephew to tell her to stop. As they talk about more important things, he brushes her. I bring them to the place where they say he's been reading too many books. The cop tells us some critical facts. Higher-ups have given researchers secret reports that show they are looking into a worrying trend. A lot of older people have been dying in their sleep for no apparent reason. Researchers found something scary when they matched this data to that of people who had come back from the forgotten game of the gods. It turned out that the people who died in their sleep had also passed a lot in the game. The scary truth is shown here. If a player's lifespan runs out in the game, they die in real life too. One officer shares his fear and says that the forgotten game of the gods is a strange event they don't understand. And then the man was keeping the player's lifespan run, and the sun keeps his feet. The chief officer agrees and says it's possible that they are being attacked by aliens from other worlds. Everyone in the room is quiet as they think about this heavy thought. The head officer goes right on to important issues. It sounds like the government or someone higher up has given an emergency order, which he tells everyone. Officers must get together into vanguard teams based on where they are, go into the lost game of the gods, and learn as much as possible. It's no longer just a police matter. The government is putting together an extra group to deal with this unique situation. He talks about how big the problem is on a global scale. Every country is racing to learn about and understand this new reality, because falling behind would mean losing credibility in the eyes of other countries, which is bad for national security. No matter what, they have to get facts. Then the chief officer tells everyone what he has decided. You will be the captain of Team 1. She doesn't think twice about taking on the job. One Meng has been made the vice captain, and they are given the power to choose who will be on their team. Men nods, knowing how important their task is. He then turns his attention to Shadow, the player Wang Men met, who seems scary. From Wang's main story, Shadow doesn't seem to be up to any harm. So, the chief officer tells the EU and Wang Meng to try to become friends with him. They want to work with Shadow and find out who he is. He tells her that because she knows so much about games and stories, she is the best person to look into someone like Shadow, whose skills and actions are much like those in myths. The chief officer hopes that one of the men can make Shadow their friend, someone who can fight for them in the game. They will be able to get important information that could give them a strategic edge if they are successful. It's up to the other police officers to keep the peace and stop any mass panic. The meeting is over, and the city is bathed in a golden glow as the sun goes down. The police cops get ready for what's coming. The next day, the action moves to a high school, where the main character's younger sister sits at her desk and looks into space. Students talk excitedly about what's new. A small group of people close to each other is talking about an interesting find. Chang Wei, a student whose body had begun to disappear, has now hit level 3 in the game and may log off without threat. Chang Yi told one of the girls something significant. If several people from the same district fall asleep simultaneously, they will all wake up in the same starter town. People in the class are both excited and worried about this news. Another scared girl says this won't work. She thinks her parents should be a part of the game. She fears something bad will happen if they go in without being ready. Still, another student says they shouldn't rush to get their parents involved and should instead work on getting stronger to protect their families when needed. The main character's younger sister is looking at her phone in deep thought at the same time. She feels a growing anger inside her. Why hasn't her brother called her yet? She thought he would send her at least one message since the forgotten game of the gods was going on. Not once, though, has he checked on her, or even said sorry for hitting her earlier. That was not at all like him in the past. He always found a way to make peace, even when they fought or she made him mad. But today, there was nothing but quiet. No one said sorry or tried to make things right. Even their parents had never hit her, but her brother had. Still mad, she tries to explain what she did. She didn't even go to class. The seesaw for his show, what the heck was the big deal? She pouts and decides she will never forgive her brother unless he calls and says sorry at least 1,000 times. When she talks about Song Fei, her irritation quickly turns into excitement. Now that she thinks about it, she's glad she saw him yesterday. She might be unable to go to many of his shows after the forgotten game of the gods takes over. She looks dreamy when she thinks about how close she was to him during the show last night. When she thinks of Sun Fei on stage, she can't help but gush about his greatness. Then she realizes that if everyone enters the game world while sleeping, that means goodbye to the sun. Her face goes red as she thinks about meeting him in the game. Could this be her chance? Are they finally meeting because of fate? The thought makes her heart beat faster. When she's about to go to sleep, she remembers something. Chang Yi really quickly got to level 3. He was probably already very good at it. She required some helpful tips to do well in the game. She doesn't think twice before sending Shang Wei a message to ask if he has any tips before she starts the game. Shang Wei is with his friends at the same time. He smiles and looks at his phone when she texts him. He is shocked by what's going on. Who knew someone like the main character's younger sister would ask him for help? He thinks this is a great chance. No matter what that meant, this was his chance. Shang Wei gives a quick answer. I'll ask the right person. At the beginning of the game, he tells her a vital secret. She should put all of her trait points into agility. She will keep dying if she doesn't. She won't be able to get away from monsters fast enough. She wants to know if this is true if she picks the mage class. Shiny tells her it's true. Being quick is also helpful for magic. He says it's important early on because it speeds up throwing. She isn't sure, so she asks, what if I still can't win? After she improved her agility, Shang Ye told her not to worry because the village teleportation formation would join all the starter villages as soon as someone in their town reached level 5. She can enter any party to help her level up, and he'll come find her when the transfer circle is up and running. She is pleased to hear this. She smiles as she lies in bed and thinks about how helpful people like Shang Ye are. That's it. Someone is going to help her. She has another thought. This is great. As she starts to fall asleep, she'll start playing the game before her brother gets strong and levels up quickly. She will ensure her brother has a hard time when he joins. Not any help or guidance. He'll have to take care of things himself. She falls asleep, excited for the trip ahead, because she is happy with her plan. The scene changes back to the game, where the main character stands over the treasures containing items from a destroyed boss monster. His attention is drawn to a bright orb as he picks it up. A message from the system tells him that he has received the curse ring, a gold-level item. The system then lists its features. Anyone can use the ring. It improves all of your stats by 8 points. It also makes weak point hits 1.5 times stronger and adds 26 points to your resistance to dark elements. However, you must be at least level 4 to wear it. The main character looks at the benefits and sees that the boost adds up to 32 points, the same as leveling up 3 times. The ring's dark resistance will also help you fight many enemies, and the weak point attack boost is a nice extra. He knows this, so he thinks the curse ring is helpful for his journey. When he has a chance to think about his new item, the assistant tells him he has learned a new assassin-type skill called Instant Shadows. It tells you how the method works. The skill sends several cuts in one direction that can reach up to 15 meters away. It also makes you temporarily unbeatable for 5 seconds, and hits every enemy in a path 2.1 meters wide 3 times. Hit does 100 damage and counts as a backstab, but it doesn't hit weak spots. The skill can't be used for 12 seconds. The main character knows this ability is a strong area attack that temporarily makes them invisible. He learns the skill very quickly. He chooses to improve one of his most important skills, Greedy Hand, since he still has some evolution points. It takes 8 development points for the skill to go from Jade rank to Diamond rank in the system. It makes Greedy Hand work a lot better. The chance of getting extra loot from killing monsters goes from 160% to 220%, and the opportunity that loot will be leveled up goes from 20% to 40%. The main character thinks about this upgrade and sees that it will give him 2 pieces of loot for every enemy he kills, which means that each kill will be 3 times as satisfying. He raises Instant Shadows by 3 levels because he doesn't want to waste his leftover evolution points. It removes 3 evolution points from him, leaving him with just 1. The skill quickly gets better, going from silver rank to gold rank, and then to platinum rank. The length of the skill's attack has grown from 15 meters to 21 meters, giving it more power. Now he can't be seen for 7 seconds, giving him more time to stay safe. There are 5 slashes instead of 3, and they hit all foes in a wider 3.1 meter path. The cooldown has been cut from 12 to 10.43 seconds, making it more helpful, but it still needs to be used carefully. Each hit does 200 damage, which is twice as much as it used to. It works like the backstab skill, but can't hit weak spots, so every move counts as 1. After seeing these changes, the main character knows that the skill's ability to make him unseen for longer can be invaluable in battle, even though the cooldown isn't much shorter. It doesn't take him long to figure out that most of the other stuff isn't useful. One thing stands out: Battle Roar, a silver tier warrior's skill book. He knows that selling it will give him more time to trade. He finishes looking over the loot and then sees something move. When he turns around, he sees 3 giant animals moving quickly toward him. He knows they are level for limb crawlers, scary and ugly monsters, but he's not scared. He sees this as a great chance to show off his new skill. Instant Shadow Slash is quickly turned on by him. In an instant, he blurs into nothingness and starts making quick cuts that easily cut through the creatures. Before they can do anything, the limb crawlers are torn apart. As the dust settles, a system message tells them they've been defeated. As a prize for his win, the system records it and gives him 80 experience points and an extra 5 days of playable lifespan. As the main character stands in the wake, a dark and scary aura surrounds them. He thinks quietly about his new power. and realizes it has made him much better at beating his enemies. He comes up with a plan. If he uses his poison dart skill along with instant shadow and slash, he could win fights before they even check his tradable lifespan. He knows he has 618 days left, but he needs at least 900 days, or about 2.5 years, to use his game skills and gear in real life. He thinks about that goal as he plans what to do next. First, having sell all of the valuable things in his store. He might live longer than expected if everything goes well. He can finally link the real and virtual worlds when he reaches level 10,